Good evening, class. My name is Samatar, and today the psychologist I'll be talking about today is Hermann Rorschach. Psychiatrist Hermann Rorschach was born in Zurich, Switzerland, on November 8, 1884. He combined his interest in psychoanalysis and art to create the controversial Rorschach Inkbot test, which many of y'all may know the name of, but you may know what it looks like, but don't know what the name is. In 1921, he introduced this form interpretation experiment in his book on psychodiagnosis. On April 2nd, 1922, his work came to an ultimately end when he died of peritonitis at age 37, which is basically caused by bacterial infection, either via the blood or rupture of the abdominal organ. Now let's talk about the famous and legendary and controversial Inkbot test. In 1917, Rorschach became aware of Swiss psychiatrist Simon Hens, who studies using Inkbot cards to analyze patients' fantasies and dreams. Rorschach was also influenced by his acquaintance and contemporary Carl Jung, who was using word association tests to tap into unconscious minds. Rorschach combined his interest in psychoanalysis and art to create his own controversial Rorschach Inkbot test. He was the first researcher to use Inkbot to analyze how patients project their own associations onto seemingly random stimuli. This basically means that Rorschach used two people in his life and combined their ideas and beliefs into the experiment. We see with Carl Jung, basically what he did in his experiment was he had cards, and these cards had words on them, and he would ask patients what these words meant to them and projecting a stimuli instantly. And for Simon Hens, he also used Inkbot cards, so he combined so and so together. Rorschach, he used this experiment by testing 300 patients and 100 control subjects. The test was composed of 10 Inkbot cards, half of them in color and half of them in black and white. Patients were shown one card at a time and asked to respond while Rorschach wrote down their answers. Afterwards, Rorschach showed patients the card again and prompted them to explain the reasoning to their answers. This Inkbot test is a psychological test in which subjects' perceptions of Inkbots are recorded and then analyzed using psychological interpretations, complex algorithms. Some psychologists use this test to analyze a person's personality, characteristics, and emotional functions. It is usually employed to detect thought disorder, especially when done to patients who don't want to openly express themselves. The Inkbot test, as we can see, basically the person shows a picture and they're prompted to give a response in mere seconds so they can be truthful, as honest as possible. This is helpful for people who don't want to really collaborate with somebody and just want to get to know the person and how they think, because this test is really controversial because it talks about how this could be used to identify if someone is crazy by seeing if what they say matches up to what the majority says, which is why people call it controversial, because just because you say something looks like a giraffe when it actually looks like a tree doesn't make you seem crazy. But let's try. For the first test, what do you see? If you said a bat, a moth, or a butterfly, you are considered normal by the test. Now, What do you see? If you said some kind of bear carpet, animal carpet, you are considered normal. However, if you say an outlandish thing such as a monster or like the boogeyman, something like that, we can draw conclusions stating that you must have like a horrific past, or the you find objects such as these horrifying. Question number 3. What do you see? If you said a skull, you are normal. You are considered normal, at least. Now for the final one, what do you see? In this image, you can see you can form two pictures. In the top, you can see a